All right, so this is going to be a video that kind of goes into how the MACD EMA strategy works, um, along with the indicator that was created for it. First, I'd like to start out by giving a shout out to PT Scalper. This was started as a strategy that I've been working on for trading, and I've been wanting to create an indicator for it. And so I went on here to the forum, the Use ThinkScript forum, and PT Scalper stepped up and put this thing together, and it's freaking amazing. PT Scalper wrote all the code. Um, I made some adjustments to it. PT Scalper came back and made some finer tuning, and right now it seems to be working great. And I'll kind of go into everything and then how to adjust it and things like that. I also want to give a shout to Ben 10 for even putting together this forum here. I mean, this is an amazing community. I've been logging on to here now for probably the past 3 or 4 years, and finally became a VIP member and just wanted to give back and share. Um, so I'll kind of go around give a little background on the strategy itself, um, why certain things are included in the indicator, how to use them. I'll go over how to set up the charts for it and just talk a little bit about my strategy. And then, a couple finer points that I've noticed just over the years of using this strategy and things that pop out to me, and a couple strategies, as far as like fading and things like that. But um, I'll go into a few things on the Thinkorswim platform, but I don't want to spend too much of your guys' time going into like how to change too much on it and how to set things up. There's plenty of videos out there. But if anyone has any questions, just hit me up on the forum, man. It's all good. Um, so first things first, a lot of the strategy really relies on price action. Price action is probably the number one indicator that I use, and I feel it's it's the most direct, right? Most indicators are secondary indicators. They're reacting after price, and so I use those more for just confluence to make sure my my preconceived notions or my sentiment is in the right section. So let's start here. So first thing I'm going to do is load the indicator. So I named mine Trader's Edge. I mean, you can name it whatever you want. Keep it the same. There's a couple different things I do here though. So I use what's called the MQ Momentum. It's a proprietary script, but it's very similar to the MACD. So I'll load the MACD as well. You'll see the differences. There's some similarities. It's just the thing with the MACD. It runs off of a different script. Exponential average times MACD length, where the MQ momentum is running off of a true strength index. So it's just a little bit different, but I dig it. I like it a lot. Another thing that I use, and I know there's plenty of options out there, I like to use, again, this one's more of a proprietary script, but it's a Trender Pro too, and it changes the candles. But I know there's plenty of them out on the forum too that do that and change with momentum. So first things first, right? We're on the 1 minute chart. There's a couple tags up here on top. I'll explain how those work in a bit. And this was all PT Scalper right here. I love this portion of it, and I'll kind of show you how they all go together. But here's the MQ momentum versus the MACD. You can see they're very similar. So both strategies work with it. There's a couple things that I like with the MQ momentum. But like I said, the the MACD. The MACD works definitely. We're going to be focusing a lot on the oscillator line. So, all right, so you're looking at this, right? This is a 1 minute chart. You're like, man, this thing's kind of busy. You know, all these signals, what do I read, right? So here's what I like to do. First thing, I want to kind of differentiate everything. You see all these moving averages and all these signals. So first things first, the number one arrows. So here's our arrow up with number one. Now the arrow number one will trigger when the 3 and the 8 EMA cross. That's the first signal. That's the first part of it. So what I like to do, this is not an entry point, but it kind of gives me an indication that we're moving in a direction. So I change it to a dot. Change my arrow up 1 to a dot, and then I'll change my arrow down 1 to a dot. Right? So this, you could already see, this help cleans it up a little bit. And I'm always watching the price, right? So the next arrow up 2, this fires when price crosses the 20 EMA, whether it's up or down, right? So again, same thing. This isn't my entry point, but I will change it to a dot as well. And you can choose whatever colors you want to indicate, of course. I like a nice little contrast. So there's my arrows turned into dots. Again, I just cleaned it up quite a bit more, right? Now, arrow up 3 is when the 8 EMA, or excuse me, the 3 EMA crosses the 20 EMA. This is my entry. Now, just because I see it here on the 1 minute chart doesn't mean I'm going to enter. I'll talk about how the other charts relate in a minute. But this is my entry point when the 3 EMA crosses the 20 EMA. So there's up and then here down. So I like to do up for green, right, for bullish. And then we'll go arrow down, red. And I make these big because I want them to stick out. And then the last one is 4. This is when the 20 EMA crosses above the 50 EMA. That's for arrow up, right? So this is more just for confluence. I see that it's going in the direction we want it to go, and it's strong. So actually, let's do this. So that's my up 4 and then my down 4. And again, I'm going to change this to a dot just to clean up the chart. And while I'm watching price action, I could clearly see when the dot pops up. Right, so let's apply that. So you can see it's already cleaned up a lot of stuff. All right, so one thing you're going to find on the script, there's a SMA. Someone was asking a question on how to add the SMA to the script. It's still in my script. I don't use it, so I'm just going to shut it off. Right, no harm, no foul. All right, so average exponential 1, that's our 3 EMA. 2 is our 8, 3 is our 20, 4 is our 50, and so on. So again, I want to differentiate these colors. I want them to stick out. This one I'll keep the same. R2, which is our 8 EMA. I like to change it to green. 3 is the 20 though, and the 20 is very important to me. So I want this to stand out quite a bit. So I like to go with that style and change it to yellow. And here you could already see. And then the last one is my 50 EMA. It's pretty important to me too in the way that I use it. So I want to give it a little bit of a different flavor. Again, everyone could do whatever works best for them, but here, this is how I set it up. So this is our basic setup right here. I'll kind of talk a little bit about this stuff so first thing I do want to talk about, you can see right here, right? We fire off, and that's us crossing, right? The 3 EMA is crossing the 20, and look at this big blast off here. And then we come down, and you can see we do fire here. We bounce off of the 50 EMA. This is why this is important to me, and again, I'll explain a little more later. And we kind of chop around right here. And when you see signals firing like this, it's just telling us that now we're in consolidation. And we're just kind of hovering. Look at how small the candles get. It's compressing until finally we fire off again. And then once we cross this 50, and look at the 20 drops below the 50. Once the 20 drops below the 50, I know that we're in a strong trend. And you can also see here, look at how price bases out and it bounces off the 8 EMA and continues. It pulls back to the 8 EMA and continues until finally, once it pulls back to the 20, most of the time when it does that, that's when I'm going to exit. Either when it closes above the 8 EMA, as you can see here, and I'll go a little bit more into detail on this. I'm just going to point these few things out on the 1 minute. Once it closes above the 8 EMA, I know that we're changing trend and direction. And you can see here, at least on my MQ momentum, it's sloping up. And even here on the MACD, we're sloping up. So that's telling me that momentum is shifting. Look at from this move here to this move here. Look how we stayed in a downtrend. Look what our oscillator did. It stayed down to flat. And that means momentum's not changing. So I know I'm safe the whole time we're riding off of this 8. So I'm going to hold. Sometimes I'll enter like 2 or 3, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole on this stuff. But sometimes I'll open with 2 or 3 option contracts or future contracts, and then I'll start peeling them off, and I'll always just keep one runner on to get maximum profit. So this is the first setup, right? But again, this is just the 1 minute. So what I would recommend, once you have your stuff set up the way you like to set it up, what I do, I save the study set, right? So that you can just come down into here and select your strategy. Okay, so now what you want to do though, and I already have my grid saved, you want to have this set up on a 1 minute chart, a 3 minute chart, and a 5 minute chart. Okay. Let's go back to NVIDIA. I like that pattern. Here we go. So once you have your grid set up, the 1, the 3, and the 5, like I said, I like to come up here and I just click Save Grid As. So every day I'm coming in, I'm ready to trade. I just got to open up my computer, boom, just click my grid, it sets it up. I link these symbols so that anytime I change one, they all update at the same time. And what you can also do, if we come in here to trade, I do have the option of linking this too. So for example, if I go, let's go SPX, all of these update, and then I go to trade, I have my SPX option chain as well, right? So just a little trick. I know not a lot of people may not realize that. The other thing that I like, and again, you can check this out online. I don't want to waste too much time going into it, but you see how my crosshair, it moves on every chart. So they are synced up, and this is very important for me when I'm trading or analyzing my chart. So let's do this. We're going to go back to market open. Here we go. Friday, 6:30 a.m. I'm on Pacific time, so you can see my 1 minute candle connects with my 3 minute chart and my 5 minute chart, so I know what time frame I'm looking at as I'm going through this. All right, so here we go. So sometimes, first off, sometimes if I'm feeling aggressive, I might jump in right away in the market. But there's a lot of volatility in the morning. So sometimes I'll wait about 15 to 20 minutes to let everything kind of flush out. It really depends what kind of day it is, news coming out, things like that. Um, but also, I do a lot on the futures. So, like this past Friday, the jobs report came out. It was good. Market took off. I jumped in right away. Um, so, so you can see right here, right? We fire off, we cross, we have a green arrow here and a green arrow here. Now, if I take a look at my oscillator, I see it's sloping up on my 1-minute chart, it's sloping up on my 3-minute chart, and it's sloping up on my 5-minute chart. So I could enter this and write it up. Now again, there's a lot of volatility. This is the first 10 minutes, and then what do? We flush down. So if I did ride this up, once I see price break down below my 8, I'm probably getting out. We bounce around a little bit. And right here, we're kind of settling down in the morning, right? Half hour in. So now I'm going to be looking for my next entry here. So as we get in here, look, we got a green arrow here. It pops up. But we're not sloping up a whole lot here. And we're kind of flat on the 5-minute chart. So that's telling me there's not a whole lot of momentum going on. I pop up here. It's not time to enter yet. I see the 3 and the 5-minute charts line up right here and here. I could get in, but still, look how flat this is. That's telling me that we're still in consolidating, we're chopping around. So what I'm looking for, and you can see it right here, we get a green arrow that fires. And we're already above on the 3-minute chart. There's our 5-minute arrow that fires. And if I enter, I can ride it. I want to stay right above here. Let me open this up a bit. Here you go. Ride it up, peel a couple off, and ride it. So a lot of times too, what happens is when I'm in a trade, the 1-minute chart, if the momentum continues bullish, you will ride off the 20 EMA. And a lot of times, the further you get away from the 20 EMA, you snap back to the 20 EMA. The same thing happens on all the other charts. You can see how it gets below the 20 EMA on the 1-minute chart. But look at, we're riding on the 20 EMA on the 3-minute chart and the 5-minute chart. So these are some of the things that I keep in mind when I'm trading. Right here, we have a red arrow that fires on the 1-minute. But we're not below the 20 on the 3-minute or the 5-minute. I would not enter here. That tells me that we're still, the momentum's still strong in the bullish direction. It's not an entry point yet. And look, you could kind of see here where we started riding on the 50. It's holding the 50 on the 1-minute chart. Sometimes I will get aggressive and re-enter on the 1-minute chart because we're already in a bullish uptrend on the 3-minute chart. We're still in a bullish uptrend on the 5-minute chart. I can enter here on the 1-minute chart and continue to ride it. You can see how it chops around a little bit until finally we take off a little more. Till we break down. We had a red arrow signal here. We didn't quite hear, right? We bounced off, you see we held at the 20 a little bit. So it's not really your entry point yet until price starts to break down. You see the red arrow fire on the 3-minute chart and on the 5-minute chart. And look at your oscillator sloping down. Oscillator sloping down. That's telling me that momentum is going to start ramping up in that direction. And sure enough, we ride it down all the way down. So, couple more things on here with these tags. So these are live. These labels are live. So they're not gonna. I can't turn them on to go backwards, or like, I guess as we're looking at these signals, they're not gonna coincide with these. However, let's get to the end of the timing here. So a lot of times what I will see when I'm bullish, all of these will be green. All of these will be green. And I know we're in a strong uptrend. So you can see right here, price is above the 20. So it's green. Price is above the 20. The 3 and the 8 EMA have crossed. So that's why we're green here. However, the 20 is below the 50. Let me shut this off here. So the 20 is above our 50 EMA. Excuse me, below, which is why it's red. That's signs of bearish price action. And then the 20 is just barely greater than the 3. Again, that's showing that there's bearish price action. Couple things, couple little nuances that I want to point out. See if I can find it here. Sometimes, here we go. Yep, right here. This is perfect. So this is one of the things that I keep in mind too. So look at, we do have a signal fire here to go bullish on the 1 minute. And look how we go well above the 50, the 20, the 3, and the 8. But if you look at the higher time frames, look at the 3 minute. Our 20 is still below the 50. And on our 5 minute, our 20 is well below the 50. And it essentially looks like we came up to the 50 and rejected it. So these are one of the finer things that prevent me from going into a long position, especially too aggressively. This is more of a fade. So you're going to take a quick scalp on something like this, but you got to be ready for price to reverse, which it does, because we're still bearish on these time frames, even though we had a firing signal here and here and here. So you might say, hey, you know, that's bullish, right? Not necessarily, because we're below the 50. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's how I use this. I want to see everything line up with each other. Let's take a look at the ES real quick. And the other thing too, there's different underlyings that behave differently. So the future pricing definitely behaves quite a bit different than, say, NVIDIA. Tesla is going to act a lot different. So some of the rules I will loosen up on, as far as where it rides along the moving averages and where I'm going to exit. Let's get over here. Here we go. This is why I like the crosshatch too, because as I fly by my time zone, I can see it start to line up here. All right. We'll look at one more here. Here we go. See, 5:30. That's Friday when the jobs report hit. You can see how it just took off. Just ripped the market. All right, here we go. Here's our 5 minute, our 3 minute, and our 1 minute. 6:30. Here's market open. Now, I had to make a judgment call on whether I was going to enter because we were already bullish. But the way the market's been acting as it is, I jumped in. So I rode this, jumped in when market opened. We had good news, and I rode this. Once I saw this candle cross is when I exited. But you could also see momentum slowing down. And we have a couple doji candles here. Once we cross, you see how the white dot, that signifies bearish 3 and 8 crossing. So I exited. We rode off of the 20. And look at, we're riding right on the 8 on the higher time frames. Once crossed again, look at, we're starting to flatten out and roll over. Our histograms are even rolling. Once it fired, that's when I got back in. Then we get a doji. I held this one a little longer. I wanted to hold above the 20, and I ended up getting out once we closed below the 20. But you see, start riding. So as we go throughout the day, though, see, I have a signal here. I have a signal here even, but I do have a signal here. But there's not one on the 3 minute. There's not one on the 5 minute. So I'm not getting into it. And you can see we kind of chop around. You continue to chop around. Look at your oscillator's flat on the 1 minute. Pretty flat. We are slowly grinding down on the 3. Slowly grinding down on the 5. But the price action isn't really doing much at all. And we're just riding along this 20. Another signal fires, but there's no signal on the 3 or 5. Signal fires up, but we don't have anything on the 3 or 5, and we're flat on our 3 minute oscillator. We're still sloping down slightly on the 5, so that's why I would not take that signal until finally we fire on the 1 minute. We are sloping down, so I take a look at the 3 minute. We're sloping down. Shortly after, that's when we get a signal. Now, sometimes I will enter early before the 5 minute fires. When the 1 and 3 are lined up and we have momentum increasing to the downside, which it does have a nice downward slope, I will enter. But I still could have held. And look at, we rode right along the 3 and the 20 until finally we began to break down, and you can see the 5 fired off. Boom. And then what did we do? We stayed below the 20. You see momentum changing a little bit, but we're still below the 20 on the 3 minute. We're hugging the 20 on the 5. Pop up. Remember what I talked about though? We're below the 20 here. So just because it's a bullish signal, it has not fired on the 3, has not fired on the 5. I'm not going to take a bullish position yet. I might get out, close it, and wait for it to cross back down when it refires. And that's what we did. Boom. We grind a bit. A couple false signals here on the 1 minute. No confluence on the 5. We're still flat on our oscillator. Nice and flat here. So I know momentum's not really building. And then we just continue to break down and grind down. And that's when it really speeds up. The 20 crosses below the 50 on the 3 minute. Once the 20 crosses below the 50 on the 5 minute, that's when things speed up. So, I don't know. I hope I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole with you guys, but I wanted to show you some stuff. Again, at any point in time, you could always take a look at your labels here, and you'll see them lining up. They're all going to be red. They're all going to be green. A lot of this is going to be trial and error. You're looking at a lot of information all at once. And just to, like, this is an intraday strategy for me. But to just kind of food for thought, I did create a grid for 15-minute, 30-minute, and 1 hour time frames. So you could see that this could turn into a nice swing trading strategy as well on the higher time frames. Right? Look at this. Look at this. What is it? 1 o'clock on a Friday. I don't know if that's in the middle of the night or whatever, but just in theory. We fire off. I got a fire on my 30-minute, and I'm still bullish on my 1 hour. I could, in theory, take a long position here and write it out. Open one contract, something like that. But this is kind of how I use it. I'm still playing with a lot of things, but again, I just wanted to at least kind of share some of my strategies, how I look at it, how I use it. If anyone has any questions, like I said, hit me up on the forum. Yeah, again, thanks to everybody that's helping out with this, and everybody on the forum, man. You guys are amazing too. Just keep it coming. So, all right, catch you guys later.